Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode on the Reality Shift. Today we have Yuric Thambiran, and he is a commercial specialist at Dimension Data, and he's also my favorite head boy. Um, so, so yeah, man, Yuric, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I really appreciate you doing this with me, brother, man.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Peter. I love what you're doing. It's awesome, and yeah, I'm really excited to be here and just have a casual chat with you.
Yeah, man. I'm really looking forward to it. And I think, like all of the interviews that I've done, I think genuinely I just would like to start from the beginning. You know, who you are, how you grew up, your journey in that regard, leading up to the position where you're at now, and yeah.
Yeah, so as you know, grew up in Westfield, Durban. I always tell people I have interesting stories, so I went straight from the hospital to the prison. So yeah, I was born there at Westfield Hospital, and my dad he's currently as well still employed under the Westfield Correctional Services place out there. So stayed there most of my life, attended pretty much every school there is in Westfield, from Westfield Pre-Primary right up to Westfield Boys High, where we eventually met.
Yeah.
Then, so yeah, pretty standard kid through the grades. And then I think it was around grade 7 or so, took up a passion in rugby, grade 6 or 7, around there. And again, not a usual thing for an Indian kid around the block. But yeah, went for it and enjoyed it. Saw some fruits of the labor along the way as well. Represented KZN at certain levels, and
Yeah.
then my parents as well were very very big on academics, so I had to keep that up as well. So between rugby, academics, and sport in general, and you'd remember as well basketball. I'm sure we had a game together as well before.
Definitely, yeah.
And like soccer, very socially. So from an early age, it was that cycle of academics and sport. And as you alluded to at the beginning, head of school then at Westfield Boys High. Then I think one of the more interesting decisions came after school, where I didn't go to traditional university. I actually took up an offer at the Sharks Academy.
Okay.
Yeah, so what is quite nice about that is they're linked with varsity college. So it didn't mean that I don't study altogether. Just meant I obviously had to choose a degree that kind of fitted with the training schedule. That's the requirement of the academy.
Yeah.
And again, you see my life continuing in that cycle of academics and sport. Just trying to uphold between the two and find that perfect balance, and look for some me time there and in between. So rugby led after the academy, moved solely across to varsity college. Played for them, had a bursary to study through them all the way up until my honors. And then that stressful time of looking for a job and searching the tough market came along, and I often make the joke that applying for graduate programs and jobs in your final year of university feels like an extra module in itself, because some of these programs ask for 101 things about you, and some of them have like essay type. And then applied to a job up or graduate program rather up this way with Dimension.
Can I just stop you there quickly? Can I just hold you? I just want to go back a little bit.
Okay, sure.
I really wanted to touch on this. I didn't want to cut you off at the beginning, but
sure, no,
I'll get back. I want to transition to where you are now, but I'm so interested into to understand the correlation between your way of being, the way that you carry yourself and your leadership, and where you got that from. And I was just putting it into my mind, like, did that environment, your role models and your family, teach you in a way to carry yourself and conduct yourself in a particular way to to extract and be this character of substance.
Yeah, for sure. I think in the earlier years, my family definitely played a role in obviously who I am today. And if I just start picking out different things, so my kind of desire to always, go that little bit further and just give off my best in everything I do. That's definitely my mom's doing, if I can say anything. She always pushed me relentlessly to not settle. Good ain't good enough. That type of thing. So she was strong in that department. Then when I look to my dad, a lot of EQ, a lot of control over his emotions, and lessons there are taught through observation more than anyone telling you that. At first, I got to see how in situations where other people would or may lose it, he kept a stronghold, and you learn the benefits of that. Although painful or hard at the time, a decision in the moment could have a longer term benefit. So those are just some things that kind of set the grassroots of what came later. And then other aspects of leadership and just my way of thinking, funny enough, I would attribute to playing rugby. And I say that not just in the sense of the game, but the relatability that it opened me up to. So from a traditionally Indian family, that's kind of my upbringing. But when you play rugby, all of a sudden you're not surrounded by many Indian people anymore. There's people of different backgrounds, different cultures, different ways of living. And when you put in that environment, you're forced to learn about other people because the status quo is different. It's a different ball game. And from an early age, I kind of started to relate to other people and see things differently. I guess, again, my perspective now from coming through an Indian family, it starts opening up to, there's different people out there, different cultures, different personalities that first and foremost, you have to be tolerant of, and views you got to respect, and ways of thinking you don't see, perspectives you've never lived through. So that, again, I think aided in more opening my eyes to seeing people and the way people react to things differently. And so that, coupled with everything building up to that, I think with leadership, it's a big people focus. If you lose sight of the people around you, everything else would probably just become unstuck, as you move forward. So yeah, looking back, I mean, those are three aspects, I think, from an early age that kind of followed through and helped me become who I was later on. And then again, just working at everything and progressing through, it gets to a point where you expect it to be a certain way, and you just grow.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to the part where you are making that transition, from university to finding a job. So let's expand upon that.
Yeah. So I, like most, knew I wanted a job, wasn't sure what job I was looking for at the time, so my strategy at the time was, just cast your net far and wide, and see what bites at the end of the day. So my strategy was literally just apply at all the major companies, the minor companies, because you want to sit with the option to say no rather than no option of it. And I was fortunate enough, had two kind of leads to follow on. One was back home based in Durban, and one was in Johannesburg. And Yeah, the decision was more to move to Johannesburg was more around, again, developing as a person, because I had been in Durban all
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the day I was born all the way up until I graduated. So it was more a personal development thing to leave
Mm,
the nest and start looking after myself. And yeah, and it's a stressful time applying for jobs. You apply to different grad programs or different jobs, and a lot of the times you don't even hear back. You're getting kicked out by an algorithm. So it's tough. And I think one of the biggest lessons through that process is never take it personally. Uh,
mm,
it's never a case of whether you're good or good enough. It's more cultural fit, because that's a big thing companies look for nowadays. Will said candidate fit into the culture? So I know that's a big thing. Never take rejection from a job offer personally.
100%. So how did Dimension Data come along, your current position?
Yeah.
How did, yeah.
So that story is actually quite interesting. So like I said, casting the net far and wide, I had set up different profiles on all these different career portals, and I think it was PNet at the time. So their recruiters kind of trolled through these sites and came across my profile, and they sent the registration documents onto me and said, what, we have this grad program out there and apply. So I said, cool, okay, so this is the first time a grad program's picked you out and asked you to apply. So I said, okay, cool. Fill out the form, submit it back, and then you go through the different rounds, and it was quite an interesting process. There's an open day, there's a virtual automated interview, and then there was a panel interview where you're sitting in this big boardroom, big table in front of you, and across from you is like all the executives, and kind of just firing questions at you. And so it's a good test of temperament as well through the process.
Mm.
And so then it was a great day when you get that feedback that you've made it. So yeah, and then that's literally how I came across them, because again, as we were chatting before the call, technology, or I wasn't very technologically inclined in high school or school all the way through. So to end up at a very technology strong firm, is a bit out of character. But like I said, sometimes you find a passion you didn't know you had.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so let's expand upon your position at Dimension
Sure.
Data and the dealings within Dimension Data and what it is that they do and seek to service in the corporate
Yeah.
sphere.
Yeah. So let's start with what Dimension Data does. So we do in a short way to wrap it up. We do anything from cable to cloud. So if you expand on that a bit further, so anything from your baseline infrastructure in your IT environment, be it data centers, structured cabling, even IoT sensors and IoT solutions, all the way through to your software applications, SAP or other ERP solutions, as well as bespoke and standard applications. We have some interesting case studies as well on companies we've actually built out applications for. And then cloud is a big one in today's talk, and migrating workloads to the cloud to improve, obviously, cost efficiencies throughout your firm, and as well as performance and scalability and general flexibility within your IT environment that, 5 to 10 years ago, we weren't speaking about, but now it's such a huge part of gaining a competitive edge within the market, regardless of, what industry you operate in. So as a company, it's a huge breadth of products and services, and we could probably take up this whole call just chatting about that. So where do I fit into all of this? So,
Yeah.
commercial specialist. I deal mainly with financial modeling of big outsource contracts as well as multi-technology deals. So wherever there's cross technologies, or you're looking at outsourcing whole towers within other companies' environments, I'm the guy who kind of structures how revenue and costs will flow throughout that contract, ensures there's, correct margin profiling, and making sure at the end of the day, whatever we propose is feasible for both parties, and, make money at the end of the day, simply put.
Yeah. And what would you say? Okay, let's talk about pre-COVID-19 and lockdown, and post-COVID-19 and lockdown. Let's talk about the contrast and the shift that has happened, specifically, personally for yourself and at Dimension Data.
Yeah. So for myself, it just changed the way you saw your day-to-day or your week actually as a whole. I think a lot of people get into the cycle of, you look forward to Friday, but then dread Sunday. But with the added flexibility kind of passed back into your life where, now we're rotating 2 days a week into the office. When you're spending 3 other days at home, it's like in between calls, you could, take 10 minutes to do a load of washing or, other daily tasks that you normally would have to squeeze in over and above an 8-hour day, 5 days a week type of thing. So with that flexibility, you've granted a lot more time to balance other things in your life. And I've really enjoyed that. And other daily stresses like traffic has really, really worn down. There's a lot less cars on the road. Starting to pick up now, as we enter level 1 and more people are returning to work. But yeah, it's for me personally, there has been a lot of benefits. Obviously, the downside is the lack of collaboration, and sometimes work is just easier to do when you're physically engaging with who you need. Yeah. And then as a company, again, we're a tech company, so we were in a very good position to make that switch overnight from having a full contingent in the office to everybody's working from home. Sort out your VPN and, you can work remotely. So we weren't hit too bad in that regard. It was a surprise, obviously, for everyone, but I think we were very well equipped as a company. And again, from starting to rotate back to the office, compliance measures are put up. There were constantly things, or rather messages being relayed about, what's the updates, where are we, what's the expectations of the employees. And, there was a strong emphasis on maintaining a culture through the process, and that was really good.
And from your opinion, where do you see the space within, the data and, digital space going, especially now, when it comes to the complete shift, in South Africa and being catalyzed and catapulted into that space?
Yeah, it's a tough question. There's lots of technologies that are out there that weren't being used as much, and I think Zoom. We're using Zoom right now. Zoom, Teams, and stuff like that. Skype, applications that were there, but weren't readily used because people still preferred face-to-face engagements, etc. Now you're seeing that shift of technology starting to enable the human more and allowing you to bring back more cost efficiencies into the company. So, for example, traditionally you'll have let's say an exec or a senior manager that's out in Cape Town, fly to Johannesburg for a 1-day meeting. And just because there's that impression that face-to-face engagement, and probably somewhere along the line people like traveling back and forth. But now that these technologies that were sleeping kind of below the surface are being utilized more, there's that opportunity to say, hold on, we can cut these costs out, as well as certain virtual conference events are being hosted now, because you can't have large conferences in person anymore. So there's this huge opportunity through video conferencing now to cut back on those costs that were traditionally expended, without thinking of other alternatives. Then touched on it earlier as well, like with cloud and scalability and flexibility of what it provides, and your options as well. People think of cloud as this scary public place where all their data is hosted, but you get things like virtual private clouds where you're assured more around security and data sovereignty and things like that. So looking at how technology can enable the human rather than replace the human, and sticking with that theme, a big one is automation, and we're seeing it in our company as well, where robotic process automation, these bots are being developed to take over menial tasks. And there's two ways to look at this thing, as the automation's taking away jobs, and it's a bad thing, and right for the social climate, especially in South Africa. And there's obviously the other way, where you want to move away from humans doing menial tasks. Again, you're enabling them to do things where they try to think. You want to move away from that kind of data entry, and where a human's behaving like a robot and just putting scope. So this is a big thing for me, and again, this is just my opinion on the matter. Like, it's often referred to as part of the fourth industrial revolution. And the way I look at it, when your traditional manufacturing processes, like the way they develop cars, was automated, there was obviously a big uproar there, because now factories are laying off a lot more people because robots or heavy machinery is taking over a lot of the manufacturing cycles. Here, bots are taking away a lot of the menial tasks, but in its place, more knowledge worker type roles are opening up, and we're just going to see the skill sets of humans kind of change to accommodate for the new society we're moving towards. And I think, for me, automation is probably one of the big things going forward.
Okay. So touching on the skill sets as well, lastly, in terms of how would you say is the best way to go about, maybe for others or for yourself, to future-proof yourself? Because that's basically what we have to do now,
Yeah, no, 100%. And, it's such a pertinent point, and I can't say I have the answer, but, and it comes up a lot, the traditional school system doesn't really cater for. Have I lost you there, or no?
Sorry. No, I'm still here. Yeah.
Sorry, no, just technical difficulties on my side. So the traditional school system obviously is starting to change slightly. It was a bit different when we were there, but a lot more schools are incorporating coding from an earlier age. And there's this thought that the way we grew up with email and knowing, how to draft an email, whatever, but the generation before us, weren't too sure about how to draft and send an email. It'll be similar, where coding will be almost second nature for these kids coming through school now, or it'll be something that's not too scary. Should I put it that way? And at that level, you're starting to see kids inherently starting to become more future-proof. But then, what about between people our age who've kind of just missed out? It falls, I guess, a lot in our hands to look at the short courses. There's tons of courses like on Udemy and things like that, where
Yeah.
you upskill yourself in a bit of coding and getting to grips with how things like that works. And that's obviously if you want to code. There's always opportunities out there to look into again with other courses. Like if you're not technically inclined, there's other courses, and I think it largely becomes our responsibility to look into that, and find what interests us, and follow that, and just try to surround ourselves with as much education around those topics as possible.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better, brother man. And I think we're hitting that mark very soon. But yeah, brother man, I think this has been awesome, and we've touched on a lot. Would you like to give your handles, for persons to engage with you if you want, or if they want to consult with you in some way in capacity? Would you like to give that out?
Yeah, no, for sure. So, I mean, you can find me on LinkedIn. My name, Yuric, so Y-U-R-I-C, Thambiran, Thambiran. And that, I guess, applies to Facebook. And then, yeah, Instagram handle, if you like, at Yuric_T. Yeah, so I'm across most social medias. Yeah, reach out if you want to talk tech and other opportunities in the space. I mean, I'm willing to always lend an ear and help out as well. There's tons of opportunities, and I know coming through school as well, we don't know about it. It's opportunities in the tech space aren't always well advertised, and career paths, especially in IT engineering, you don't always have to go to university to become an L3, L4 engineer, and there's loads of opportunities in the cybersecurity space, not just in South Africa but across the globe. If you want to reach out, get in contact around what other kind of opportunities lie in the area, and I can do my best to help you kind of leverage that.
All right, brother man. And yeah, man, I'm just going to talk to the persons who'll be watching the actual interview. Guys, please do like and subscribe at The Reality Shift SA and at Litzwe Boto on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. And yeah, man, this has been a wonderful interview with my brother, man, Yuric. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. And please, yeah, man, just keep watching. And yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks, Yuric, my brother. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks. It's been awesome, bro. Love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks, man.